What's up, everyone? So I was watching First Take on ESPN this morning, and Stephen A. Smith, along with the entire panel, had this really interesting segment breaking down how it's genuinely inevitable at this point. Jakobi Meyers' days in Las Vegas are absolutely numbered, and it's honestly hard not to feel like number 16 is going to be gone from the Raiders in just a couple of weeks. Stephen A. said it is what it is. This is the NFL. And some players this time of year, they want their way out of struggling situations. Jakobi Meyers has clearly wanted out for a while now, and that departure is probably going to happen sooner rather than later. The First Take crew has been covering the Raiders extensively, and the engagement from fans has been fantastic, because the Raiders are always the Raiders. They're always keeping things interesting for everyone analyzing the league, even during their bye week, which is remarkable. They don't have any actual football to talk about, and yet, the entire week has been full of Max Crosby trade rumors and, probably more realistic, Jakobi Meyers trade speculation. But Meyers is kind of a situation that everyone knew from the very beginning was going to play out this way, going all the way back to the offseason where he said, flat out publicly, "If you're not going to pay me what I want out of here." The Raiders' front office said no to his contract demands at that time, so Meyers has been playing things out, trying to increase his value. He's played all right up to this point according to the panel's assessment. Not particularly great production, but serviceable. As everyone knew from the start, Meyers put the messaging out front right from the beginning about wanting a new deal or wanting out. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we jump into everything today, I need to ask you something that takes literally 1 second, but would make a massive impact on my journey. That subscribe button right there, hitting it right now would help me get closer to my goal of 1,000 subscribers, a dream I've been chasing since I started this channel. I know you're eager to get into the content, but real quick, just tap that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It's such a simple thing, but every subscription brings me one step closer to that milestone and honestly means more to me than you could imagine. We're building something special here, and I need you to be part of it. So do me that favor right now, and let's hit 1,000 together. So Jakobi was asked about his future, in case anyone missed it earlier in the week, as the Raiders put a bow on their practice during this bye week. The media asked him in the scrum session what his thoughts are and where his stance is on this whole situation with the trade deadline approaching. Do you want to be in Vegas long term? Do you want to be elsewhere? Meyers responded by saying, "No, I got no control of that. If I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'm not. Wherever I'm at, I'm trying to get healthy and play good football." But Stephen A. emphasized that for sure, Meyers still absolutely wants the trade to happen and wants out of Las Vegas. The panel said, listen, you can't really knock Jakobi for feeling this way. Despite his numbers being down significantly this season compared to last year, Meyers is, or at least went into last week, leading the Raiders in targets before sitting out with a supposed knee injury. Stephen A. said that last part with some skepticism in his voice, but acknowledged this is a 1,000-yard receiver from last season we're talking about. Meyers did not particularly mesh, or hasn't. The crew was already operating in the past tense here, but Meyers has not particularly meshed well with quarterback Gardner Minshew, despite a relatively strong start to the season. And as a result for this 2-win Raiders team, Meyers is looking like a guy who has genuinely fallen out of favor. The analysts think in part that he absolutely has fallen out of favor with the coaching staff. With Trey Tucker's emergence as a legitimate weapon and Jakobi Meyers becoming less of a focal point in the offense due to scheme changes, it's kind of understandable that a player in Meyers' situation is going to find himself as the odd man out in the pecking order. Even though Brock Bowers hasn't been fully healthy himself, Bowers is going to come back and be a primary target. For a guy in a contract season like Meyers you're still not going to be prioritized in this offense when you've fallen out of favor with the play caller. That's just one more receiving option that's going to take targets away from Jakobi. So Stephen A. thinks all of the First Take analysts kind of indirectly are of the belief, or certainly feel that way, that knee injury that kept Meyers out against Kansas City, all right, it might have been something legitimate, but could he have played had the game been of more significance to the season? Probably yes. according to the panel's speculation. Stephen A. acknowledged he's the one sitting there on a television set, not a medical professional evaluating the injury, so it's not really his place to speculate definitively on someone's leg injury. But from the Raiders' organizational side of things, Las Vegas needs to maximize their assets every which way that they can before the deadline. Jakobi Meyers is absolutely a significant trade asset because there are a lot of contending teams that are completely void at the wide receiver position right now. There are a lot of playoff contending teams who are going to be seriously interested in acquiring Meyers at the deadline. The question the First Take crew thinks for a lot of these potential suitors, however, is what comes next contractually with Jakobi after this season. Are these teams willing to pay him long-term? Are they willing to pay Meyers a 3-year contract extension? Because, in all likelihood, this is the last time in his career that Jakobi is going to get offered a 3-year deal, or, honestly, anything beyond a 2-year deal given his age and production. The panel discussed what his market value might be. Had Meyers had any kind of breakout season this year, or if last year's 1,000-yard campaign was considered his breakout and he built on it, that would open up more lucrative contract conversation. You're probably looking in the neighborhood of, and Stephen A. said, this is probably too ambitious now that he's saying it out loud, but maybe like a 3-year deal worth $60 million total. The analysts think that stock valuation has probably taken a bit of a dip based off these on-field struggles this season. But what are these struggles really based on? That's what the panel wanted to dig into. Is it Meyers not accommodating or adjusting to Gardner Minshew's playing style? Or vice versa, with Minshew not getting Meyers the ball? Is it Jakobi schematically being phased out in Luke Getsy's offensive system? It's kind of one of those difficult questions to answer because it's always a complicated situation when you're trying to navigate where the struggles originate from for a wide receiver, learning a new quarterback, and new offensive scheme. Has this been a genuine regression in Meyers' talent level, or has it been more a matter of just trying to make a new offense work itself out, and the chemistry simply hasn't developed? Stephen A. said his gut instinct on what the real issue is. He just doesn't think it's an offensive scheme that's worked out at all for anyone, because there's been a whole bunch of other evidence along the way that would suggest the entire Raiders offense is dysfunctional. Between Minshew's inconsistent struggles and the complete lack of any sort of consistent offensive rhythm, the First Take crew thinks the system is broken. Part of the reason Jakobi played as well as he did last season was that essentially he was the number 2 receiver twice over. He was the second option to Davante Adams. And then when Adams left, Brock Bowers indirectly became the de facto number 1 receiving option, and Meyers still managed to put up 1,000 yards on the year. So the panel wants fans to make of that what they will as to why the numbers have fallen off a cliff this season. The next question, though, Stephen A. thinks Jakobi Meyers is absolutely going to go elsewhere. He thinks Meyers is going to be moved at the trade deadline that first week of November. But the question becomes, where does he land? Because again, there are a lot of teams that could genuinely use a proven wide receiver too. You're looking at the likes of a Pittsburgh Steelers squad that needs receiving help. You're looking at the likes of a New York Giants team that's down their star Malik Neighbors with injury. But for the First Take analysts, when they look at Jakobi Meyers and look at the way he's handled this entire trade situation professionally, comparatively speaking to what it was with Davante Adams' drama last year, the crew thinks guys who handle things the right way and the professional way deserve to be treated accordingly and deserve to get what they want out of their careers. Stephen A. thinks what Jakobi Meyers probably wants more than anything is to go home, to go back to the place where he kind of found his roots as an undrafted player, where he established his foundation in the league with the New England Patriots. Meyers could reunite with rookie quarterback Drake May at a point where the Patriots are trying to make a playoff push, or at least in pursuit of competing for the AFC East Division. Stephen A. said he wants to see this homecoming happen for Meyers. Now, the panel admitted they don't particularly like the Patriots organization for many different reasons, but they also genuinely like Jakobi Meyers as a person and player. They like seeing guys doing things the right way professionally, And they like seeing guys getting recognized and rewarded for handling business the right way. Whether that New England reunion actually happens is of course yet to be determined. But if it does happen, whether it's to New England or anywhere else, the First Take crew thinks the Raiders have got to find a way to flex their negotiating position into getting at least a third-round pick in return. Realistically, that probably doesn't happen according to the panel's assessment. Because of the fact that Meyers is in a contract season, and whatever team acquires him is only getting a receiver for potentially half of a season, with no guarantee of re-signing him. So unless you're a team right on the verge of legitimate title contention, and Meyers is the last little missing piece that you need to get over the championship hump, which Stephen A. is sure there are a few teams out there that fit that conversation and will do exactly that. The analysts don't think the Raiders are going to get anything more compensation-wise than a fourth-round pick. If Las Vegas does somehow get a third-rounder, the panel would be absolutely elated and shocked. So that was the full First Take breakdown of why it's inevitable that Jakobi Meyers is done with the Raiders and will be traded before the deadline, with Stephen A. and the crew discussing potential landing spots and what kind of draft compensation Las Vegas might realistically expect in return.